So first of all, good evening, everyone. My name is Maria Schrin, and I am a co-chair of the Lehigh Board of Trustees. And also I had the distinct pleasure of being the co-chair of the Presidential Search Committee, along with my fellow trustee who's joined us tonight, Phil Shibley. And Phil, thank you so much for joining us this evening as well. On behalf of the entire Search Committee and of the Board of Trustees, I really want to take a moment to welcome each and every one of you tonight and thank you for joining us on this monumental occasion as we introduce Lehigh's 15th president, Joseph J. Helbley. Joe, who currently serves as the Dartmouth provost, is returning to Lehigh to lead his alma mater as really the second alumnus in our history to hold the position of president in 155 years. And as you will hear soon, that is certainly not the only reason we are so excited about his return to South Mountain. Joe has had a stellar career in both academia and in the private sector. As I mentioned, Phil and I co-chaired the comprehensive global search, which attracted a diverse pool of outstanding candidates. We had a 16-member committee, which included trustees, staff, administrators, students, both graduate and undergraduate. And I have to say the committee held a series of town halls last fall, which really allowed us to gather feedback and insights from the entire Lehigh community. This helped inform the work of the committee and develop the position profile with the assistance of the leading international executive search firm of Isaacson Miller. So even with the outstanding pool of candidates, Joe clearly stood out as the right person to take Lehigh forward. So tonight, we're extremely excited to have this opportunity, and it is now my distinct pleasure to introduce Kevin Clayton, the chairman of the Lehigh Board of Trustees. Kevin?
Well, thank you, Maria, and welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. And I want to thank Joe for joining us as a means to initially introduce you as Lehigh's 15th president to our community. It was announced a week ago that Joe will assume his presidency of the institution on August 16th. As Maria mentioned, Joe is a fine Lehigh graduate, earning a bachelor's degree in chemical engineering in 1982, was named the president after we referred to a comprehensive and global search process that Phil and Maria led, and that was supported by a 16-person committee of diverse representation across faculty, students, staff, parents, and alumni. As Maria mentioned, there were many, many reasons why Joe was chosen, and there are many, many impressive achievements and proven leadership that he has earned at Dartmouth and over his professional and personal career. Joe's passion for excellence, interdisciplinary learning, and innovation in higher education make him a perfect choice, make him the perfect choice to lead Lehigh into its future. We are tremendously impressed by his professional and personal qualities that made him so successful at Dartmouth, but also in life. And those qualities, we believe, will make him an outstanding president at Lehigh. As Maria mentioned, Joe has spent the last 16 years at Dartmouth and currently serves as the provost and the university's budget officer. He oversees all of Dartmouth's professional schools and graduate schools. They include the Geisel School of Medicine, the Guarini School of Graduate and Advanced Studies, the Thayer School of Engineering, the Tuck School of Business, as well as major academic support units and a variety of other offices and academic centers and institutes. Joe is responsible for setting the university's budget priorities and the annual budget process. I should also mention that he has spent the last 15 months guiding Dartmouth through the COVID-19 pandemic. Joe serves as a professor in the engineering school, where for 13 years he served as the dean of the Thayer School of Engineering and saw a record number of applicants, research funding, and nearly a large increase. And I believe, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, was for a while there, it may not be last year, but it was, where you had a majority of your graduates in the engineering school that were women. Job well done. Joe earned his PhD from MIT in chemical engineering and has served a number of years in the private sector and has spent time in Washington as a science policy fellow working on environmental and technology issues. He has authored over 100 research papers and holds a number of US patents. Joe and his wife, Rebecca, AKA Becky, look forward to residing in the President's house. Rebecca and Joe have 3 grown children. So since our announcement last Monday, we have been inundated with a tremendous number of warm, encouraging, enthusiastic, and most importantly, welcoming messages on Joe's selection. So Joe, thank you for taking tonight to be with us. Number one, I think to provide a little bit more of background to our audience. Number two, maybe some people may be asking, and I know you asked yourself this, why Lehigh? And number three, Joe, why do you think Lehigh is so special? And why do you think it's so well positioned to achieve even greater success in the future? So with that said, Joe, the floor is yours. Welcome to Lehigh.
Thank you, Kevin, and Maria and Kevin, thank you for the introduction, and Phil, good to see you with us as well this evening. And I want to thank you and also the faculty, staff, and the students who are on the search committee and the Board of Trustees for giving me this incredible opportunity to come home to Lehigh. Now, I think you know, Kevin, Maria, Phil, certainly over the course of the past several months as my conversations with you and the search committee unfolded, I found myself spending a lot of time reflecting on my own Lehigh experience. And when I think back, I arrived at Lehigh as a member of the class of 1982, and I was coming as the oldest child from a first-generation family. I was the first in my family to go away, as we said, to a residential college or university. Almost all of my friends and almost everyone I knew came from families like mine. Almost everyone had parents who were immigrants or first generation. Almost no one had traveled much beyond the New York metropolitan area where I grew up. That was my world. And so the opportunity for an education at a residential university when I arrived at Lehigh was something completely new, and I had absolutely no idea what to expect. When I arrived on campus that first summer, I remember so clearly my Griffin stopping in to introduce himself and say hello, and my being so overwhelmed by the newness of it all that I couldn't say more than a few words. My mother is still alive, and she still jokes with me and reminds me of it to this day. A year later, that Griffin inspired me to become a Griffin myself. That Griffin became a lifelong friend. I remember the first days of cross-country practice when I had joined the team as a walk-on and running farther and faster and longer than I had thought possible, of running up and over South Mountain again and again and again. And I remember setting foot in a classroom for the very first time and finding intellectual and academic challenge and rigor beyond anything that I had imagined possible when I was in high school. I found faculty who pushed me to excel, who gave me my first undergraduate research opportunities, who helped me learn to express my own ideas and opened my mind to possibilities, not just in engineering and in science, but in history, in political science, in economics, and in international relations. I found faculty mentors who patiently explained why I should consider graduate school and then a PhD. And it is absolutely no exaggeration to say that those conversations and those faculty members changed the course of my life. That's what Lehigh was for me. And that is what Lehigh means to me even to this day. A community of smart people committed to unlocking the potential inside every single student, inside and outside of the classroom, and giving each of them the individualized attention, the support, and the encouragement to succeed, to thrive, and even to excel. Now, Lehigh certainly changed in the years since I was a student. I've been back to campus several times, and I've seen this firsthand, and it is appropriate for meeting the needs of the times. The campus itself has been transformed. Historic buildings, as so many of you know, have been renovated. Linderman is truly spectacular. New facilities in the Mountaintop campus have been added, and thanks to President John Simon and his leadership, the first new college or school in more than 50 years, the College of Health, has been added, and its physical home is nearing completion, adding a key component to Lehigh's mission that addresses one of the most important areas of our society and our economy. New academic programs and interdisciplinary degrees have been added, bridging not just departments, but even schools in ways that speak so fundamentally to the knowledge and skills that 21st century graduates, that today's Lehigh graduates, need for success. Research opportunities for students have expanded, driven by a scholarly faculty seeking to create new knowledge, illuminate new interpretations, develop new methods, or invent new technologies. And the Lehigh community itself has grown and diversified in exciting ways, reflecting the vibrancy and richness of possibility that exists when one brings together talented students from all backgrounds in a residential setting. This matters to me, and this matters to all of us, to do what it takes to make Lehigh as diverse and inclusive of everyone and give everyone the opportunity to succeed. There's no question that there are challenges facing higher education. Access and affordability top the list, which is why financial aid remains so critically important. A recent report suggests that college completion rates are no longer growing, and there's widespread concern nationally that curricula are siloed, with students not drawing sufficiently from the full breadth of a university's offerings to learn basic skills in technology, a basic understanding of business, and the fundamental and foundational questioning and critical thinking and communication skills that the arts and humanities and social sciences teach so well. These are challenges that are very real, and these are criticisms that higher education cannot ignore. And yet, when I look at Lehigh and Lehigh's rich history, our rich history of a faculty and staff who are attentive to the individual student, a dedicated and supportive alumni community, a history of the kind of education that for me and so many other alumni who are joining us tonight, was transformative. And our trajectory with a growing student body and what I see as a willingness to experiment and create new programs at the interfaces, not just between departments, but between schools, which is not an easy thing to do and not at all common in higher education. I'm convinced that Lehigh has exactly the right academic pieces, the right scale, and the right focus on students, not just to remain a relevant player, not just to prepare our graduates with the skills they need, and not just to launch them on the path towards successful careers, but to prepare them truly for the opportunity to lead. This is such an imperfect format for our first meeting together, and I know firsthand how challenging this pandemic has been for us all. Students, faculty and staff, the local community, our alumni, we've all been touched and all been affected by this pandemic, and we are all so ready to return to a more normal existence. And I am so looking forward to that, to being in Bethlehem later this summer to meet our campus community in person, to being on the road to meet many of you, our alumni, in person. I can't tell you how much it means to me as an alumnus to have the opportunity to return to the university that changed my life. I truly can't wait to get started. Thanks for taking the time to listen this evening. I'm happy to take a few questions now, which Maria will moderate, and I look forward to hearing your stories and taking your questions in person when we get started together later this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe, for those comments. Indeed, we have a number of questions, so I'll do my best to call through all the great questions that are coming in. So let's start with the first. What do you plan to do when you first arrive on campus? What is your first 100 days?
Well, Maria, I don't yet have a plan for the full first 100 days, but I can tell you what I'm planning to do for the first few weeks. I'm arriving in the middle of August, and it's going to be just about the time our first year class is arriving on campus. It's going to be just about the time some of our second year students, our sophomores, are coming to campus under what's closer to normal operations for the very first time. And I'm planning to walk the campus, meet the students, meet their families, ask a lot of questions, and mostly listen. Understand what it was that brought them to Lehigh. Understand what they're excited about. Understand what their aspirations are for their education, and to continue walking around the campus, listening, meeting with the board, of course, but meeting with our faculty and staff and members of the local community and asking them to tell me their stories. I've found whenever I've taken a new position that the absolute best thing I can do to help shape a direction, to help shape a vision, to help build towards achieving our aspirations is to take the time in the beginning to really learn from those who've been working there for a long time and try and figure out fundamentally how I can help them and help us achieve our vision and goals for the institution. So a lot of walking and a lot of listening.
So Joe, as a follow-up to that, one of the questions is, how do you plan to interact with students and meet with them to learn their specific needs and priorities for the campus?
Right. You know, one of the things, Maria, that I've done throughout all my time here at Dartmouth has been an academic student advisor. And so I'm hoping I'll have the opportunity to continue to do that at Lehigh. I find that one of the best ways to learn what's on the mind of the student community is to meet a few of the students when they first arrive as first-year students and to work with them throughout their entire time on campus. I plan on attending student meetings and student performances and student events, and walking the campus again and just asking questions, saying hello, hoping the students will be willing to say hello back and understanding a little bit more about their experience. And some of you know, I mentioned I was a cross-country runner when I was at Lehigh. I'm still a runner. You will see me running around town and around campus, and I'm hoping that maybe even one or two of our students will be willing to join in. I'm not as fast as I used to be. They need to take it easy on me, but that's a great way to, again, hear their stories and get a sense of the student community.
I think what people want to know is, what was your favorite concert at Stabler?
Wow, I haven't thought about that in a long time. So this will be a dated reference for some of our alumni, but I saw James Taylor when I was at Lehigh. In fact, I saw James Taylor twice. The second time was my senior year. I was a Griffin and I went with all of the students who were on my floor. We sat in the first two rows, and it was a wonderful experience to spend that evening with them and to see a concert on campus that up close and personal.
Another great question we just got is, as you know, Lehigh is part of a significant collaborative of colleges and universities in the Lehigh Valley that work together. And how will you continue this tradition of collaboration to enhance Lehigh and really the other institutions in the greater Lehigh Valley?
You know, I think, as I said, Maria, and that's a great question, higher education is at a crossroads. And I think the more we partner with one another, the more we work together to talk about the transformative impact of higher education, the more we work together to share intellectual resources and support the local community, the better it is for everyone. Now, throughout my time as an academic administrator, throughout my time as a dean, and particularly throughout my time as a provost in this past year, I have benefited so much from conversation and collaboration with peers at peer institutions, not just working our way through the COVID pandemic, but certainly working our way through the COVID pandemic, supporting one another, sharing ideas and insights, and again, providing opportunity that benefits our students and our community collectively. I think that's critically important, and that's something I'm very much looking forward to doing once I get started.
Thank you, Joe. Another question, very interesting. How do innovation skills, both entrepreneurial and intrapreneurial, fit in your vision for Lehigh?
Well, I think as you may know, and some of our alumni may know from my background, that is critically important and critically important to me. I, here in my current role at Dartmouth, worked with our faculty to start a program to develop PhD level technology entrepreneurs. And this was the first of its kind in the country. And what matters there is we recognize, and I recognize, that what we need as a society from higher education is changing. And we need students, certainly, who study a subject deeply, but we also want students who can think about taking that next step and putting their knowledge, their inventions, their science to use to benefit the greatest possible cross-section of society. That's true in terms of supporting technology entrepreneurs, but it's true across the broad, across the broad spectrum academically. And I think it's also true as we think about our programs on a campus like Lehigh's. You know, one of the things I say often to my faculty colleagues here is we should be willing to take risk. We should be willing to experiment. I think that's true not just of our students who want to be entrepreneurs. I think that needs to be true of us as an academic community as well. It doesn't mean every idea is going to result in a successful outcome, but being entrepreneurial means having an idea, taking a chance, taking a risk, trying to develop something new and seeing where it leads. And I think that's as important inside the academy as it is outside.
And Joe, we have so many questions, but there's a couple of others that I'd like to continue on. How will you work to increase diversity and a spirit of inclusion on campus?
You know, Maria, that's something that is on the minds of every academic administrator. I hope it's actually on the minds of every member of every college and university community in our country. I mean, first of all, it's about welcoming students from a broad range of backgrounds, socioeconomic, ethnic, racial, and national origin, building a community that really reflects intentionally the community around us. It's giving those students the courage and the tools to learn how to tell and share their stories and do it in a way where we all listen to one another, getting to know one another, building trust, and recognizing that we haven't all walked the same path. We haven't all taken the same steps to get to Lehigh, but we have shared goals and aspirations for our education. Learning to trust one another, learning to respect one another, learning to respect one another's differences, and being comfortable having uncomfortable conversations. How do we do that? I think first and foremost, we start by talking about it openly and talking about the importance of understanding and respecting a broad range of backgrounds and perspectives. We talk about it by engaging community in conversations that can be challenging at times. And we talk about it by making sure we have the resources in place to ensure that every student has the ability to benefit from the full range of experiences that Lehigh offers. It's not an easy path, but I think this is an area where universities need to lead and have the opportunity to show the rest of the country that you can bring a diverse community together and have them learn and collaborate and teach one another in ways that are respectful and understanding and supportive of all.
Thank you, Joe. Well, based on the number of questions we're getting, we could really be here all night. So in the interest of time, do you have any last thoughts that you'd like to share with us, Joe?
Well, thanks, Maria. And I just want to thank you again, you, Kevin, and Phil, and the board and the search committee and the Lehigh community for giving me this opportunity. As I've said, I cannot describe how excited I am and how much this means to me to have the opportunity to come back in this role at this time and work with the community together to help take Lehigh down the path towards the next chapter, the next successful chapter in its incredible history. I can't wait to get started, and I am looking forward to being on campus and being on the road and meeting the community and working with all of you for many, many years to come. So thank you, and I look forward to meeting you in person soon.
Thank you, Joe. Phil?
Yeah, so welcome to Lehigh, Joe. I do want to extend a quick thank you once again to the folks who served on the Presidential Search Committee, and to Maria, my co-chair, for bringing us to this moment. And thank you to everyone who joined us this evening. These really are exciting times for Lehigh. Everyone, please have a good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.